Now you see the gap. So don't worry about your arm structure first. Yeah, totally. You're going to feel so free. Left. Love it. So if you get a vid now, you can go that way here, and then you can actually sit into it. Where did that go? Well, half on the wall, Bill. That's your maximum. So you've got your underdone. Create the humpers motion. That's the mix with these motion. That's a royal hump. Just grab this, like your right pocket, and just go. You just pull this around. Good. And that's just going to get to when you start to see this, you've got that what I call club head or fist. Look where you got that little gap there. Once you've got that, then you can sort of go this way. That's your. Like that happen, right? So you'll see set up work. Don't worry about this.
Yeah, so it's not just good.
Good. But it's really this part.
Yeah. So just putting that down.
That's it. And just the shoulders are where it's go, and the arms are where it's go. As long as you're not pulling it into trying to get more.
Okay, cool. That's really cool.
Correct. That's going to make you go a lot of this. I'm going to get short of arm structure out. But I'm going to give you more hitting on the I love that. I love that. I know that was but I love that.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm just tired. Just these swings, this is so new that I'm like, I feel like I'm starting to yoga.
This is like your prelude while you're on the scene, right? So then you go better. Way better. That's your second. That's your and then the last move will be from bang this way, and then we're going to go. So it's important to be really bad. That's going to really show you what it feels like. See, I'm not the biggest fan of changing grips. I think there's easy ways around it. But you could potentially just get your right hand a little bit more underneath, and then try and work that arm down. So feel like you're pointing your arm down to the ground a little bit more. Okay, nice. Striking it, man. And that's it. Yeah.
Okay, players, now, I went to Eric for my next lesson, and you see in the video, what you're gonna see is that we worked on turning this hip. Now, everything up until now has been building up to this point. But let me explain to you why my swing was in the state it was in and how it got there so that you can avoid doing the same thing and then walking your whole way through life completely on the wrong path because you have a fundamental misunderstanding. Now, some people will think that my swing or people's swings are done intentionally. They're not intentional movements. Often it's a natural movement due to a concept that's wrong in your head. And from what I could see when Eric was explaining to me things like impact position and rotation and where the club is supposed to be and how it's supposed to look, it was a conceptual problem with my brain. I got completely messed up on the concept of the golf swing. So it's not an intentional thing. It's taking understanding or misunderstandings and help from people and unqualified people and putting it into your own swing. Number one was the grip. So the first thing I had was a very weak grip. Now, I used some mental gymnastics to be able to think I had a neutral grip, but I always had a weak grip. I can only see half a knuckle to a knuckle on my left hand. Now, if you move your head enough, you can actually see 2.5 knuckles. That is a delusion. So I deluded myself into thinking I had a proper grip. So I've strengthened that, okay? So by strengthening that is, I was holding it way in the palm here. So I started holding it on top of my fingers and then having that V point over the right shoulder. That's a fundamental thing. But my understanding was wrong because I looked at the Ben Hogan book and I believe, maybe a misunderstanding, but I started using a weak grip because he used to fight the hook. Now let me tell you players something. This is Bangkok. You're never going to get a quiet day in Bangkok because it's impossible. It's too big, too many things going on, so bear with me. First misunderstanding after the grip in the actual golf swing was taking the club back, okay? So when I first started playing golf, I just copied Ernie Els' swing. But then I started reading Golf Digest, and that's when the problems come in. I was looking at those swing sequences, and for some reason, I thought you had to have on the takeaway the club face pointing that way and the toe pointing directly up to the sky. So what do? I try work on that. How do I do that? The best way to do that is to open your hands and roll the wrists open like that. That's the simplest way to do it. So that's what I start doing. And then my next misunderstanding by looking at those golf swing sequences, still images, and reading what people say is to get that club shaft over your right shoulder, the point of your right shoulder. So I was standing in front of sliding doors, just doing that. Then what that does, as you can see, is I'm getting armsy and then moving up like that. Now that is a fundamental misunderstanding of what you're supposed to do. And I'll show it to you how that cures itself from Eric's 3 lessons. The next thing I had was at the top of the swing, always saw that you mustn't be doing that, you mustn't be doing that. So I put a ruler inside my golf glove, a 12-inch ruler under the glove, so that every time I got to the top of the swing, I had a straight wrist. Okay, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but this is what I did that developed my swing. And then on the backswing, I was always told or always understood that your back leg should never straighten. It should never straighten. It should always be a little bit bent. So I always, on the backswing, want to keep that leg not straightening at all. So that's another problem, right? Because you can't really do the full rotation if you're doing that. Then at impact, I thought you had to be in the same position as address. So address, impact. That's the same thing. So that's why you see I'm very closed off at impact and I have to do the flip and I get a sore back. Now that is fundamental misunderstandings. Is it intentional? No. It's a misunderstanding from concepts that you read somewhere else or listen from someone else, and whether they gave it to you and you understood what they said correctly and they're wrong, or whether they said something correct and you misunderstood it and perverted it into your own idea, can screw your swing up by the concept. Concept was wrong, not the swing. People look at people swing and get triggered. It's not a person's swing, not an intentional thing they're doing. They are hitting the ball in a conceptual way that they think it's supposed to happen. That's why you'll see some people move with their arms first, and some people try hit with their hips. So that was one of the big things with me, was spinning of the hips, right? So people say, You have to clear your hips, rotate your hips. I have no idea what that means, right? So they're telling me to do that. So my idea of doing that is, but then what they do is they tell you you're spinning out. So now you're caught from the same person with one piece of advice saying clear your hips, and the second piece of advice after you've done it is that you're now spinning out. So you're between these two ideas and it's completely fucked you up. So you can't hit a golf ball. Now, these are the things that led to my swing being the way it was. One more, where I lost the rotation. I was actually quite a good rotator. I used to always have Charlie Chaplin feet as a young kid, and I would always lift that left heel like Jack Nicklaus. And you know, a lot of people tell you not to lift your left heel. I say lift that damn thing. And that little lift there can also trigger the correct move on the downswing. And I used to do that a lot. I had a lot of distance when I was younger, even more than I have now. And that's because I was rotating the hips. But then someone said, why do you stand with your feet like that? Why aren't they parallel? So I thought, I don't know. So I just started doing it. And you can see from instead of that, where there's some rotation, now you put the feet together. Now I'm moving off the ball to cheat the rotation. And that's the problem. Conceptual ideas, not intentional swings. So this is where we go very wrong. That's why I say, do not listen to your friends, do not read Golf Digest, do not watch YouTube videos that you do not know if they apply to you or not. 100% go see someone in person and just listen to what they say. If what they say is working on the driving range at that moment, in the lesson, it means it's working. The only way we screw this up and completely make a mess of what the coach has told us and then blame the coach is because we've perverted what he said by adding in our own sugar and spice. And if you watch that video of me why I'm not a scratch golfer, that's because the second line, I was adding in my own sugar and spice and all things nice into what Eric had told me. I was sending him questions in the WhatsApp that he was thinking, man, this guy's got some problem in his brain. And that's why he recalled me for my third lesson. And he gave me that final piece of the puzzle. I probably need more lessons, but I had to come back to Bangkok. And that first step, you'll see, he gets me to stop swaying. So I'm not doing this anymore, okay? Because if I do that, I have to do that. And then I'm way ahead of the ball. So what he gets me to do is to turn those feet out, start rotating, hitting small shots to understand rotation. Then after that, what he does is he teaches me impact. So instead of being there at impact, he tries to get me there. And that's a very simple drill he teaches beginners, which I wish someone had shown me this when I was a kid. It's that you start there, you don't hit any balls. You just go address, impact, address, impact, address, impact. Now, if you know that and get into that position, you're at the correct impact position instead of like that. And that's where I was. I was there instead of there. And that's a big difference. That is a conceptual problem. Now, he got me to turn, he got me to understand impact, and then some people were saying, yo, you're not turning enough in your hip and blah, blah, blah. Everybody is an amateur professional when it comes to the golf swing. Anyone who's watched 10 videos about a swing seems to know everything. They contradict the coach. They say your coach is wrong. They give their opinion as if they know everything. This is exactly why you never ever listen to your friends, anyone else except the coach you're paying for, who has skin in the game, who has his reputation on the line, and is teaching you the correct thing. So if he's teaching you something on the range that works and you get that light bulb moment where you actually just bam, bam, and you hit the ball better, it's working. You only screw it up by adding your own things and your friends' things and YouTube things. So stop doing that. Listen only to your coach. If you are going to a coach, don't tell your friends, because they are going to look for ways to contradict your coach, for ways to stop you listening to your coach. Add in sugar and spice and all things nice. Don't. Now, before I went to Eric, he was talking about rotation and he was talking about rotating into the hip, but I never understood it. He didn't give me that piece of the puzzle because it would give me too many things to work on in my brain. To get rid of this first and start to get over the ball like that was a big enough thing that I couldn't then take that and add in the hip turn. So I watched a George Gankus video on Instagram where he was describing, I put the link in the description, how your right nutsack, you can watch it. When you turn, the right nutsack is on this line, and when you turn through the ball, the right nutsack is on that line again, something like that. And I fully understood then what it meant by hip depth. You're turning into that hip. And that, in the lesson, showed me I can actually straighten that right leg. It's fine. That is mind-blowing for me. That is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing thing number one was that feeling of releasing when you have more turn from this and not moving over right to left. Just that thing of keeping your head on top of the ball and staying behind it was mind-blowing. Then it was impact, okay? Then it was turn. I had no idea. And this is where the remedy to those problems I had of the takeaway, of all that stuff came in. So I strengthened my grip. Now I keep the club face more like that on the way back instead of just fanning it open as my habit was for 20 years. So now I take it back and I'm not thinking about pulling it up over my shoulder. The turn into the hip does that. Now that does cause me to overswing, so I might have to work on not doing that as much, but that turn into the hip just took away all the bad sugar and spice and all things not nice that I added to my swing lessons, and it took it away and clarified everything. And I finally understood how all three lessons came together into one. Now, I would assume that I'd need a fourth lesson, which would really solidify it, but I had to come back to Thailand. So I might do a Skype lesson with Eric. But just that move into the hip, where you have to focus on getting the bit of distance between your knees here on the down the line view, where I'm turning into the thing like that. Just that caused everything else to fall into sequence and get to the impact position and release the club. It was mind-blowing. Now, this is how a good professional does it. What Eric did is he talked to me for 20 minutes before the lesson, the first lesson. Understand, how do I think? How do I learn? Am I technical? Am I feel? Do I understand lingo? Do I understand what early extension and things like that is? He understood that, what kind of person I am, and he adapted the lesson to that. That's what a good pro does. A good pro also gives WhatsApp updates. He asks for your swing on the golf course. He asks for your swing on the driving range. And that is what's going to make a difference in your game. A good professional like that. Listen only to them. Having said that, Eric now, because of the outpouring of love from the first two lessons, he's now doing swing analysis online on WhatsApp, and he's doing lessons as well. You can check out the link below. His phone number is in the description and the pinned comment. Get hold of him. He's such a great guy, and he is supremely observant and very insightful, and he can help you out. Send him a text, send him a message on Instagram. It's all linked below, and he can also help you online now with all these shutdowns and things, and I think it's going to benefit you at very good prices. I'm not hitting that many balls. I'm kind of busy at the moment. So, moving back to Thailand and getting stuff in order, setting up life again after thinking I was going to set up life in Malaysia. So what am I doing to actually get better and to remember these lessons from Eric? I very rarely get a chance to go hit golf balls. I play golf, and that's about it. I get to chip a bit before the round and maybe after the round. But other than that, I'm not being able to do much. So what I like to do is I got myself a little impact bag, and how to fill this thing is you put I've got 2 reams of paper in there. A4 paper with some golf balls in a bag on top of it, and that's all wrapped in some old towels. Okay, so it doesn't move that easily, and it's still quite soft. You don't want to be hitting hard things in here. And all I do is I just set up as I'm supposed to, take it back short, like that. And that's what I'm doing to get that feeling of compression. Then another one is the chair draw. And this one I'll do just in the evening when I'm out here on the balcony or in the morning. And it can be something just as simple as sitting about a fist away from the chair, turning the right butt cheek onto it, and then with more force hitting the left cheek onto it. So right butt cheek, left butt cheek, right butt cheek, left butt cheek. And that one you can pick up from George Gankas. The way Eric explained it to me, it's more like just taking the club there, back, but that is the feeling I'm supposed to be getting instead of the early extension humping. That's what early extension means now. I didn't know that. So those are the things I'm doing. I have a chipping mat there, and I have foam balls, and I also practice the chipping motion here on the balcony. Just to get that feeling before a round. So when I get to hit more golf balls, I'll show you some updates there. But that's pretty much what I'm doing at home. I have that. I have a putting mat with a ruler on it, and that's what I'm doing. Let's see how it works. But I need a way to remember the lessons, and the impact bag is one of the best because it just keeps reminding me there, there, there.